Before you scroll. Before you believe another rumor. Before you let another headline tell you what love is supposed to look like. Pause right here and read every word of this story carefully, because what happened between Dylan Wang and Shen Yue did not just silence critics, it rewrote everything people thought they understood about strength, forgiveness, and choosing each other again. And by the time you reach the end, you may see love in a completely different way. For months, the world watched them like a ticking clock. Every public appearance was dissected, every expression analyzed, every silence interpreted as distance. Comment sections turned into battlefields. Fans speculated. Critics predicted collapse. Strangers decided their fate from behind screens. But behind the noise, something unexpected was happening. They were healing. Not loudly. Not publicly. Not dramatically. Quietly. It started on a morning that felt ordinary but was anything but. Shen Yue woke up earlier than usual. The house was calm, sunlight stretching across the bedroom walls. She turned slightly and saw Dylan Wang still asleep, his face relaxed in a way she had not seen in weeks. For a moment she simply watched him. There was no camera, no audience, no pressure, just memory. She remembered the early days, the laughter that came too easily, the conversations that lasted until sunrise. The way he would look at her as if she were the only person in the room even when surrounded by thousands. Somewhere along the way, life became louder. Schedules became tighter. Expectations heavier. Misunderstandings sharper. But in that quiet morning light, she realized something. The love was not gone. It had simply been buried under exhaustion. Later that day, Dylan found her in the kitchen, staring absent-mindedly at a cup of coffee that had gone cold. "We need to talk," he said softly. Those 4 words once felt like danger. This time, they felt different. They sat across from each other, without defensiveness, without rehearsed speeches, without pride standing guard. "I miss us," Dylan admitted. Not the public version. Not the perfect version. Just us. Shen Yue felt her chest tighten. "I miss us too." There was no dramatic music. No grand gestures, just honesty. And that honesty became their turning point. They decided something radical. They would rebuild their relationship as if they were meeting each other for the first time again. Not as celebrities. Not as a headline. But as 2 people who once fell in love without fear. Their first step was simple. They disappeared. Not permanently. Not dramatically. Just intentionally. They reduced public appearances together. They stopped responding to speculation. They turned off notifications more often. They created boundaries that protected their peace. The world interpreted it as distance. It was actually closeness. One evening, they took a quiet drive outside the city. No entourage. No announcements. Just music playing softly through the speakers and open roads stretching ahead. Shen Yue leaned her head against the window, watching the city lights fade behind them. "Do you ever wish we were ordinary?" she asked quietly. Dylan glanced at her. "Sometimes. But then I remember that even ordinary love requires extraordinary effort." She smiled at that. They stopped at a small coastal area, far from crowds. The ocean waves rolled steadily under the moonlight. The air was cool. The world felt far away. They walked side by side along the shore. No cameras. No expectations. Just conversation. They spoke about fears they had never voiced. About pressure. About feeling misunderstood. About the loneliness that sometimes hides inside fame. For the first time in a long time, they listened without interrupting. That night, something shifted permanently. Not because the problems vanished, but because they chose to face them together. Weeks passed. Subtle changes became noticeable to those paying attention. They laughed more in public. They stood closer. Their interactions were softer, natural, unforced. At a recent event, photographers captured a moment that went viral within minutes. Shen Yue was speaking to someone when her heel caught slightly on the carpet. Before she could react, Dylan's hand was already steady at her waist. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Instinctive. The way someone reacts when protecting what matters most. Fans noticed. The narrative began to change. Then came the interview that surprised everyone. When asked about their relationship, Dylan did not dodge the question. "We are learning each other again," he said calmly. "Strong relationships are not about never struggling. They are about choosing to stay when staying requires work." Shen Yue added quietly, "We are focusing on what truly matters." That phrase echoed everywhere. Focusing on what truly matters. Behind the scenes, that meant date nights without phones. Honest check-ins. Scheduling time for each other as intentionally as they scheduled work commitments. Protecting family time fiercely. They began celebrating small wins. Cooking together. Watching old films they loved. Revisiting the cafe where they once had an early morning breakfast before sunrise shoots. One evening, they returned to that cafe. It had not changed much. The same wooden tables. The same soft lighting. They sat in the exact corner where years ago they had made quiet promises about the future. Dylan looked at her and smiled. "We were so certain back then."
"We still can be," she replied.
But this time with wisdom. The strength of their reunion was not loud. It was steady. It was mature. It was intentional. And perhaps that is why it became more powerful than any dramatic reconciliation could have been. Their children noticed it too. The laughter at home grew warmer. The tension dissolved gradually. Bedtime routines felt lighter. Weekend mornings felt joyful again. One night, as they tucked the kids in, Shen Yue caught Dylan's eye across the room. No words were exchanged, but understanding passed between them. "This is why we fight. Not for image. Not for approval. But for this." As months went by, even the harshest critics grew quieter. Because consistency is louder than speculation. And what people saw now was consistency. Shared smiles. Supportive gestures. Genuine warmth. They were not pretending everything was perfect. They were proving that imperfection does not equal failure. In one particularly touching moment captured by a fan from afar, Dylan was seen waiting patiently outside a studio late at night. When Shen Yue finally walked out, visibly exhausted, he handed her a warm drink and simply asked, "Are you okay?" She nodded and leaned briefly against his shoulder. It was a small moment, but small moments often reveal the biggest truths. Their reunion was not about proving doubters wrong. It was about remembering why they chose each other in the first place. Strong love is not dramatic. It is deliberate. It wakes up every day and decides to try again. And now, as they stand stronger than ever, focusing on their relationship with renewed clarity, one thing is undeniable. They are not the same couple they were before the storm. They are wiser, more patient, more protective of their peace, more intentional with their love. And that version of them might be the strongest yet. So, before you believe the next rumor, before you assume silence means distance, remember this story. Love that survives pressure is not fragile. It is forged in effort. Dylan Wang and Shen Yue are not just together. They are choosing each other. Every single day. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that real love is built not found, then stay connected. Follow the journey. Share this story with someone who needs to believe that second chances are real. Because sometimes the strongest relationships are the ones that almost broke but decided not to. And this is only the beginning of their strongest chapter yet.